The BS Report is presented by Subway. Football season is over. Foot-long season is just beginning. For a limited time, get any piled high regular footlong for just $5. Any footlong, just $5. Hurry in, Subway. Eat fresh. Eat fresh. The BS Report is a free-flowing conversation that occasionally touches on mature subjects.
First of all,
This is the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
it might be cool, I don't know. And if it's not, I don't
The
care.
BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Bill Simmons works for ESPN. He's also named the sports guy, and he writes a comical sports column. He must be a popular dude.
The BS Report.
It's got a real dirty sound, like a rusty steak knife cutting through a well-aged steak.
Now.
Here's Bill Simmons.
Welcome to the BS Report, our big American League preview today with my buddy JackO. We went so long we had to split it into two parts. Here's part one on the Subway Fresh Take Hotline right now.
Complex Litigation, this is John.
Johnny! Johnny!
What's up there, Willie?
Are you excited for opening day?
I am excited. I'm extremely excited. There's a
It's
new
the-
Cathedral of Baseball opening, Billy, and it's in the Bronx.
It's the loosest Yankee clubhouse in recent memory.
It really is. I'll tell you, they love each other. It's
This
great.
clubhouse is looser than Madonna.
Hi-oh.
Hello! Hey, it's a free-flowing conversation. I wanted to go through the AL East with you today.
The AL East, okay.
I thought we could have some fun with it.
Absolutely. I'm excited.
Because it's opening day and all. First of all, I wanted to get your thoughts on the outrageousness and ridiculousness of having opening day actually start the night before.
Well, it's ludicrous. It's absolutely ludicrous to do it Sunday night. Part of the whole pageantry is like daytime baseball like it used to be, and to do it Sunday night is just a travesty. Plus, the whole thing of calling in sick from work and playing hooky and, to go, and if you're in a city where there's a baseball team and they have opening day, that's part of the grand tradition, and it's ruined by having Sunday night. Where's the fun in that?
It's actually worse in football when opening
Thursday night?
Yeah, the opening night is Thursday night, and then it's 3 more days till Sunday. I never understood why they. I know all these reasons are for money, but
Right.
at some point you just have to accept that you've made enough money and give the fans what they want.
Plus, imagine on Monday what a great sports day it would be if you could play hooky and either go to or watch opening day, and then you roll right into the final game of basketball at night.
It's a great day.
I mean, it's perfect to take the whole day off and just revel in sports.
What are the early reports on Yankee Stadium?
That it's fantastic. Apparently, it's it's palatial. Oh, they were killing it in the New York Post today, Phil Mushnick, but Phil Mushnick pretty much kills everything and everybody. So
Yeah, that's not saying anything.
I really can't. He doesn't like Girl Scout cookies or rainbows or lollipops either. So it's hard really to take anything he says seriously. But other things that I've heard are people like rave about it, love it. I've seen some pictures and it looks fantastic. Just like the entryway and sort of these grand hallways is what seems to be anyway, with light and brightness. And the old Yankee Stadium, when you walked in, it was kind of, the actual stadium was beautiful, but when you walked in, to the entryway, the hallways, the atrium, it was pretty depressing.
Yeah, I've heard various words describing it are like palatial, over the top.
Yeah.
Like just grandiose. It really sounds kind of like almost like a Vegas casino.
Well,
went
that's
too
what
far.
they say. It's like a 5-star hotel with a baseball field attached, basically, is sort of what it looks like.
I'm intrigued by the new Shea Stadium.
City Field.
Yeah, it sounds like they have a lot of food options around, and
And the cool thing there is that it's modeled after Ebbets Field, so you get a little baseball tradition and history there. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I never was actually at the old Shea, much to my chagrin, although it was just sort of one of these cookie-cutter, nondescript ballparks, so it's nice for the Mets to get a little something that's, unique.
You never went to the old Shea?
And I never went to Shea. No,
Not once?
never.
Living in
Shocking.
Hartford, an hour and a half away?
I know. I never went to Shea. I drove by it a couple times going to the airport, but I never actually went to a game there. Nope.
I'd be more outraged if you missed really anything. Shea was awful. Shea was so bad that it actually was kind of enjoyable.
Yeah, like a dog
I had some
that's
good
like
days.
so ugly it's cute.
Yeah, it was, it was the kind of place you went on a bachelor party and somebody threw up in the upper deck and nobody cared, and then he cleaned it up and you didn't have to get kicked out of your seats. Shea literally had The only good seats other than the obvious ones behind home plate were those ones. I forget if it was in left field or right field where you could hit home runs and potentially catch a homer. There's like those little sections right behind the wall. I think it was left field. Right field had them too, but those seats were cool.
The cheesiness of the Big Apple coming up after a home run was enjoyable.
It was
the
so bad.
paper mache apple, you know.
It's so bad. I'm going to miss Shea a little bit. It was so over the top bad. Yankee Stadium, you know, I'm in the minority of being a Red Sox fan that actually thought Yankee Stadium was kind of cool. I hated going in there because we had so many bad memories, but the sheer staggering, overwhelming size of it was always breathtaking when you walked in. Like,
if you had grown up in Boston and gone to Fenway your whole life, and then you go to Yankee Stadium and you're like, oh my God, it's so much bigger. 20,000 more seats and just the size of it. But I mean, there's nothing around Yankee Stadium. One of the huge advantages that the Red Sox have is that Yawkey Way where it's closed off and you can drink beer outside and your hot dogs, and it's sort of if it's a nice day, it's like a celebration. You can duck in and out of those bars with a ticket. Fantastic. I mean, Yankee Stadium, let me tell you, you're not going to any bars around Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, Yankee Stadium, it was different like with extra inning games at Yankee Stadium or rain delay games where you weren't wondering if you should stay just because you would get home at 2 at night, but you were more scared that you would be leaving at 2 at night with not that many other people, and you just might never be seen again. You were just going to go into some vortex or get murdered or whatever.
And there was like the Rays subway lines around there, and you'd walk under there. It was like a scene from The French Connection or something when you left there. I remember going to Game 7 in 2004, an awful memory all around, and I got to the game late, my buddy and I, and we parked up against this loading dock, like right along the East River. It was like literally used in a scene in Sopranos, I think. And it may have been used in some real mob-related incidents as well. It was like, oh my God, I mean, you don't have anything like that around Fenway, or most of your ballparks. Like we went to Milwaukee and we were able to park in a parking lot and tailgate.
Yeah, like right next to the stadium.
And walk to the stadium. Yeah, it was great. So
another reason I love Milwaukee.
Absolutely.
The thing I think I'll miss the most about Yankee Stadium, not that I ever would have gone back up there, but this is something you did in high school and college, but being in that top deck.
Oh, yeah.
And drinking and having like 4 or 5 beers and then having to be the guy who went down to get the next round of beers and actually just navigating that stairwell or whatever it's called, just going down at like basically like a 65-degree angle.
Exactly. That upper deck is ridiculous.
Yeah. You felt like if you lost your momentum, you would just tumble forward into midair and just land 40 feet down. Like that's how treacherous it was.
My friend Ryan, who was a professional baseball player, he got us some tickets to a Yankees-Red Sox doubleheader years ago, like 10 years ago or more. And we went down. It was a weekday. There weren't that many people in the stadium, and between games we could wander around the whole stadium basically. And we went to the last row in the extreme upper deck behind home plate. I'm not really crazy about heights. I was up in the last row there, and it was so steep looking down. I was like clutching onto the seat rails. I thought they were going to have the NYPD like talk me down. It was really like the angle was just ridiculous, you know.
Well, can you imagine like being in the 70s and 80s before they tapped off the beer sales, like just being up there for 4 hours getting drunk?
It's amazing that nobody ever died there.
Well, they probably did. We just probably didn't know about it.
It's covered up.
It was like the NBA All-Star Weekend in Vegas where there were like 8 deaths and none were reported. Okay.
The truth never comes out, right?
Hey, before we delve in do you want to do Real World after we do the AL preview or before?
Well, we might have to wait because I have not seen the final episode yet. I DVR'd it and the reunion, but I haven't had a chance to watch it.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right.
I'm like a week behind.
Okay. We'll pick that up another time.
To be continued, I'm afraid.
All right, let's do the AL our AL preview.
All right.
We'll start with the West. We'll go back. We'll finish with the East. The East will be like the coup de grace bit. So we got the Angels are looking, in my opinion, really, really flimsy.
Yeah, you know, I like Sports Illustrated picked them to win the whole thing, beat the Mets, which just struck me as two of the oddest predictions I've ever seen, really.
Terrible
on paper.
prediction.
I mean, the Angel and Sports Illustrated, I think, is notorious for always being wrong on baseball, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, I was looking at the Angels, and one, their lineup doesn't really scare you at all. I don't think an aging Vladimir Guerrero and not much else. Bobby Abreu, who's okay, but is not great, and their rotation doesn't really frighten me either.
Well, especially now that Lackey's hurt. Right. Although he's coming back. Santana might be Tommy John. Might not. We're not sure.
Exactly.
Joe Saunders just reported had a tired arm. And then
Jared Weaver.
Jared Weaver, who really was kind of lousy last year. And then Kelvin Escobar, who everybody says will be back at the beginning of May, but he's Kelvin Escobar. I mean, you just don't. He might pitch 40 innings and get hurt again. I don't trust him at all. Then the bullpen, they dragged out Scott Shields for the 100th straight year.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to be getting tired, no?
How is he not like, you would have thought it would have been like Scott Proctor, where you just your arm basically falls off your body.
Exactly.
Their bullpen right now, well, they have
Brian Fuentes. They went out to replace K-Rod.
Yeah, a little shaky. Their best reliever is Jose Arredondo, who is actually will probably end up being the closer, in my opinion. But
Fuentes Fuentes has that National League to the American League thing that never makes you feel good. Now, granted, he pitched in Coors Field, so
right.
But still, coming from National to the American, you're suddenly not facing pitchers anymore. You know.
I agree.
I know as a closer, he probably didn't face too many pitchers, but still, it's a different league. It's the major leagues.
Yeah, I don't. And Darren Oliver's their third best reliever, who's I think been on every team in baseball. I'm not seeing it. And the other thing that's interesting about them is that defensively they're pretty weak. Like they have.
Yeah, you have Abreu who's afraid of the wall in right field.
Well, they have basically.
Left field. I'm sorry, because you have Vlad in right field.
Yeah, and Vlad, they'd already said that he was supposed to be a full-time DH because of his knees, and he's penciled into right field now. And then Juan Rivera is a freaking statue.
Right.
So you have Abreu, Vlad, and Rivera, who are just three defensive stiffs.
You have Torrey Hunter, who's good, but he's not getting any younger.
Torrey Hunter, who, according to the stat-heavy guys who study the defensive stats, say that he dropped a lot last year.
Really?
And then,
not much range.
Howie Kendrick, Eric Ibar, DP combo. I'm not totally sold on that. Sean Figgins is one of those guys in a playoff game. You're always rooting for somebody to hit the ball at him.
Right.
Something good will happen. I don't see it. I think the Angels are going to stink.
Yeah, I don't know. Plus they'll probably if they face the Red Sox in the playoffs, which they probably would at some point, they're not going to beat the Red Sox.
No.
So I never have any faith in them ever doing anything against the Red Sox. So when push comes to shove, I don't think we're going to be hearing a lot from the Angels. Now they're in the AL West, which helps. Obviously, to make the postseason.
That's an understatement.
Clearly,
yeah.
But I don't think there's like this gangbusters team. That's for sure.
The thing I don't get about the Angels is that, they won the World Series, whatever. But then since the Red Sox rose to prominence, they just keep losing the playoffs. They lose these tight games where either their bullpen doesn't come through or their defense makes one, dumb play or they something on the base running. It all comes down to like little things with them, and that's how they lose these playoff games.
Right.
So then their response is to basically have Juan Rivera, Vlad, and Bobby Abreu splitting two of the three outfield spots, and they didn't really improve their bullpen. I don't get it. I don't know what kind of direction they're going for.
As we said before, probably ad nauseum, for the life of me, I don't understand why they just didn't throw a bank at Manny Ramirez. I mean, His bat in their lineup would have been so enormous, as he would be for anybody, but it would have been really enormous. He was used to playing in L.A. Anaheim's practically L.A. It's the same thing. He would have known he was on a different team. He would have been like, loosey-goosey in the clubhouse. He'd have been buddies with Vlad. I mean, I just think he would have been a breath of fresh air that they needed.
Yeah, I agree.
And I should say, as I said before, where the Red Sox own them, and even though I've just spent 10 minutes disparaging the Angels, if they face the Yankees in the playoffs, I'll be scared to death because they seem to have the Yankees number, or have for the past 5-6 years. So
yeah,
that will scare the hell out of me.
My friend Joe Sheehan of the Baseball Prospectus is a huge Angels fan, and we were emailing about them, and I was like, what are they doing with the defense? And he sent me an email. Really, I have to have him on the podcast soon, but he sent me an interesting email about how the Angels just haven't had to work in that division.
Right.
They have nobody pushing them. The Red Sox and the Yankees have somebody pushing each other, and the Angels had the A's in the early part of the decade, but they don't anymore. Mm-hmm. And
it's like
now they're starting to get lazy.
It's like your LeBron Kobe thing. Like these guys the teams too need some sort of a rival to push them.
Yeah, like Joe was saying, like the Pats and the Colts are a really good example of two teams that
good one.
And Yanks Red Sox obviously, but two teams that were really pushing each other. So then Oakland, like their odds to win the division right now are 2-1. The Angels are 1-2. The A's are 2-1.
Oakland's the second choice.
Which is it's just insane to me, and I don't get it.
Because the Giambino is back there, and Matt Holliday with his Colorado inflated numbers.
You watched the Giambino last year. He was like chugging for air by the end of that season, wasn't
Yeah,
he?
he's got nothing left. I mean, he had moments, he had flashes of glory where, he'd have one good, good game or a big hit or hit a key home run, but those were few and far between. And that 250 average wasn't helping either.
And he's not getting any younger.
No, sir.
And speaking of not getting any younger, Eric Chavez, they've dragged his dead body out for another year.
Yeah, I know. My God, how long's he been there?
I don't know.
And they have to because there's nobody on the horizon apparently, nobody else.
Is it a bad sign when you're trying to hit home runs when you're wearing a 25-pound back brace?
It's not a good sign. It's not a good sign at all.
He should wheel out for his at-bats like Ron Kovic. Their backup is Cliff Pennington.
Well, that's why Eric Chavez is out there.
They have OC Orlando Cabrera. It's short.
That's right. They have two Red Sox heroes. They have Orlando Cabrera and Noma.
I always judge lineup. I judge everyone else's. I judge basically all teams by when they play the Red Sox, and I'm watching them, and I'm like, I'm scared of this guy. This pitcher's coming in. I look at this A's lineup, and I'm not joking. The only guy who scares me is Matt Holliday. I'm not even afraid of Jack Cust.
No,
who
Jack
gets
Cust
his homers. No,
for you?
not afraid of Jack Cust. I feel like you can get Jack Cust out.
Their right fielder is Travis Buck. Does he make you nervous at all?
Not at all. Not in the least. Ryan Sweeney? Nope.
Nothing, huh?
And if I'm playing them, I'm just not pitching to Matt Holliday.
Yeah, it's pretty much.
Here, swing at these crappy pitches out of the strike zone, Matt. And then, they lost Justin Dusher, which I think was. So right now they're starting rotation.
What do you think his nickname is? They probably don't shorten his last name, huh?
I don't. If I'm him, I don't want to be called Douchey.
Exactly.
Maybe they call him Dusky.
Maybe they call him Justin.
Can't you see his teammates giving him a lot of guff about being douchey and finally hit? Come on, guys, man.
What are we
trying to fit in?
Heard this my whole life.
It's funny the first 1,000 times. Here's their starting rotation. The immortal Dana Evenland is about as mediocre as it gets. Dallas Braden, who got sent back and forth so many times last year that I lost track. Then their 3-4 starters are two really highly regarded rookies, Brett Anderson and Trevor Cahill. Everyone agrees that these guys aren't ready yet, but they have to pitch them anyway. And then their fifth starter is named Josh Outman. I have no idea who that is.
Maybe it's time to put the money ball. Maybe we can stop saying hosannas to what's his name, Billy Beane, based on this lineup that he's assembled here.
Well, what's funny is that they made a big deal about how Billy Beane's one of the first to embrace defense now. And then he goes and gets the Giambino at first base. I'm going to say he's not embracing it.
Kind of belies that theory, yeah.
They already lost their closer, Joey Devine, which was stupid to begin with because his arm is made out of paper mache. So Brad Ziegler's the closer. Santiago Casilla, possible fantasy sleeper, setup guy, and then the rest of the guys are basically stiffs. What's weird is that Sean Gallagher didn't make their starting rotation. I thought he would.
Yeah,
not sure what happened
down,
there.
Huh?
Yeah, he's like their long reliever for some reason.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So anyway, I'm writing them off.
Yeah.
Now, Seattle, 6-1 odds.
They're a higher favorite than the Rangers?
They're more favored than the Rangers, which
really?
I agree is a little curious.
Just because the carcass of Ken Griffey Jr. is back there?
The late Ken Griffey Jr. is their DH. Holy mackerel.
Well, that's good because fans that tuned out in 1996 can tune back in, and it's like they're wondering where Edgar Martinez went to.
Yeah.
It's like the same team's back together.
It's like the cast of Friends getting back together for year one of a new sitcom.
Right. Does this mean grunge music is going to come back in because Griffey's back in Seattle?
Ken Griffey Jr.
Unbelievable.
Kidding me?
I mean, on paper, the Mariners should be better, just given their pitching staff. With Bedard and Felix Hernandez and even Carlos Silva, shouldn't they be better than they were or are?
You know what? I take it back. I didn't realize that Ken Griffey hit 249 with 18 homers last year.
He's back, baby.
Totally out of line. You got to be kidding me.
Oh, my God. Was that his whole year? He
Yeah.
was terrible in Chicago, right?
Unfortunately.
When they traded for him.
You know, him and I are like almost exactly the same age.
Really?
And it's kind of depressing that he's so washed up now.
Makes you feel old?
Makes me feel like I can't ever have a Major League Baseball career. I'm still holding that hope. They have they kind of went the defensive route, which is why people like them, because Beltre's a great defender at third base. Betancourt's good at shortstop. They got Andy Chavez at left field. He's good. Ichiro, right field. He's got...
Isn't Ichiro miserable there? Doesn't he like hate it, or wasn't he like kind of miserable last year, or teammates hate him? That's the deal.
Yeah, there's something weird going on with him. Like teammates don't like him. There was some story that came out that he was like a prima donna.
Yeah.
And nobody knew, and that was one of the reasons that they don't do well.
Griffey's not really that friendly either, is he?
He's about as friendly as a cobra.
Really? Well, that's sounds like a good clubhouse they're putting together in Seattle. Sounds like a fun group.
And back to the whole who am I afraid of in this lineup, Kenji Jojima, Russell Brandon, Jose Lopez, Adrian Beltre, Yuneski Betancourt, Andy Chavez, Franco Gutierrez, Ichiro, Ken Griffey Jr.
And Mike Sweeney's their DH.
Mike Sweeney. I don't see him on the list, Johnny.
No?
Yeah, he might have gotten waived. But I think Russell Brandon, people like Russell Brandon as a fantasy sleeper. I don't see it.
Ugh.
But people like their starting rotations, I guess would be the case, because they have Felix Hernandez, or as I like to call him, Effer. Eric Bedard, possible comeback year.
Sure.
Or possible 50 innings and Tommy John surgery.
Or could be possible end of the career, yeah.
Jared Washburn, the mediocre lefty you're looking for. Carlos Silva, really his righty counterpart in mediocrity. And then Ryan Roland Smith, who sounds like a Saved by the Bell extra or something.
It makes you nervous when these guys have two names with a hyphen.
Yeah, the hyphen has never really come through with professional sports. I feel like,
except in the WNBA.
Anyway,
moving on.
Their closers.
I don't think the Mariners are saying much.
Well, listen to this bullpen. Their closer's Brandon Morrow.
Ooh.
Who will do good for about 4 weeks and then be shoved with forearm tightness. Miguel Batista, they dragged him out for another year.
Good to see, yeah.
He's one of the setup guys along with David Ardsma, who had a cup of coffee with the Sox last year.
That's
Let me tell you
right.
something. We took the coffee cup back. Mark Lowe, who always gets hurt, and then nobody else. I don't see the Mariners either.
No, they're not doing it either.
Well, let's talk about the 10-1 Texas Rangers, Johnny.
This could be intriguing.
So, first of all, their offense is outrageously and ridiculously loaded.
Absolutely.
It's quite possibly the best offense in the American League.
It could be.
They let's look at the lineup. Hold on.
Ian Kinsler.
Well, I'm going to give you their actual lineup from 1 to 9. Ian Kinsler, Michael Young, Josh Hamilton.
That's great.
Oh, wait a second. That says Milton Bradley. Couldn't ESPN.com update the 2009 lineup?
Yeah,
Do that for me? Milton Bradley's in the Cubs. All right, I'll just do it by position. So, Ian Kinsler, Michael Young, Jared Saltamakia, and Taylor Teagarden, 2 offensive catchers are their catchers.
That's right.
Chris Davis at first base, who quietly had like 18 homers and 290 at-bats last year.
Pretty good.
Elvis Andrews, their highly regarded shortstop prospect.
About him.
I don't know if he's going to hit well this year, but he will get at least 50 steals. He's got like Ellsbury speed. Former Red Sox fireman David Murphy, who had a decent year last year. Josh Hamilton. Nelson Cruz, who had something like 50 homers combined with minors and the majors. I forget what the number is.
330 last year, probably unlimited. He didn't have that many at-bats, but still.
Well, he's a major sleeper. Maybe the number was, that's what it was, 37 homers combined. I sold them a little high. But he's their cleanup hitter. And then Hank Blaylock is the DH.
Solid. Not getting any younger, but solid.
It's a nice team.
Well, from an offensive standpoint.
From an offensive standpoint. And then, the huge X factor is a guy that we just drafted in our minor league draft in my League of Dorks. This guy, Justin Smoke.
What does he play?
Well, he was the top college hitter in last year's draft. He is a switch hitting first baseman. And, I guess what will eventually happen is they will bring him up. Chris Davis will go to DH. Nelson Cruz will go Hank Blaylock. They'll probably trade Hank Blaylock or shoot him. I don't know what they'll do. But you gotta like the name Justin Smoke. Is there a better name for a hitter?
No, it's good.
And then maybe Hank Blaylock goes. They'll figure out something. Whatever.
They'll figure it out.
So once that
Good
kid
offense.
comes up, they're going to play a lot of 8 to 7 games. The starting rotation not as good, Johnny.
No, questionable.
Mr. Kevin Millwood.
Anytime Kevin Millwood is your ace, you're in some trouble. And it's 2009, you're in some trouble.
You're in even more trouble when Vicente Padilla is your second
2.
starter. Yeah.
I mean, how can they have this much offense and have no pitching?
Chris Benson, Brandon McCarthy, who, they traded for him and gave up John Danks, which is in the running for worst deal of the decade.
Ever.
And then Matt Harrison's the fifth starter. That is a bad starting rotation.
Yikes.
Here's my counter, though. So they have 2 star elite pitching prospects that everybody thinks will be ready in June or July, Derek Collin and Neftali Feliz. And they have kind of an excess of riches offensively.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they go trade for a starter.
Could be. Maybe they bring the 2 kids up and they get in the hunt. Maybe they could be this year's Rays.
They have a bottom 5 payroll. Bottom 5.
Jesus.
Might have some money to spend. Maybe the economy turns, they go out and get somebody.
Could be.
Their bullpen is actually pretty good. Frank Francisco's stats were great last year, and he's kind of crazy. He's like perfect type of mentality for a closer. C.J. Wilson is the top setup guy. He's not terrible.
And Everyday Eddie.
Everyday Eddie, Joaquin Benoit. Not a bad bullpen. Anyway.
And you have crafty veteran Omar Vizquel on the bench.
Yes. So
the ageless Omar Vizquel.
The ageless Omar Vizquel.
They could bring him into the late innings for defensive purposes.
Here's the thing. I think 85 wins
could win you the West.
Possibly 83 takes that division. And if that's the case, I don't know, Johnny. I mean, that's a nice bet. So anyway, I'm in on the Rangers. I'm in on the Rangers 10-1.
All right.
I already have put it in.
Well done.
I've already put it in, Johnny.
Put that in the bank, baby.
I just like them. And I just have a feeling that the AL West is going to be screwed up, and maybe Texas just playing 9-8 games every night will work somehow. Let's go to the AL Central.
All right. Or basically anybody can win it.
Yeah, the odds are all over the place. Cleveland has the best odds at 8-5.
Really? Cleveland? Really?
Yeah.
You surprised by that? Do people know that Carl Pavano is the number 3 starter for the Indians?
Yeah, they have Cliff Lee.
Are people aware of that?
Well, they have Cliff Lee after a year of a lifetime. I don't see him matching that.
No way.
Fausto's their second guy. Pavano 3. Anthony Reyes 4. Scott Lewis 5. It's a little shaky.
And Fausto, God knows what you're going to get. He was great 2 years ago, and he was awful last year.
Yeah.
And he was great 2 years ago until the playoffs when he completely, melted down.
He was a little injured last year. He's a little like Chin-Ming Wang in that he doesn't strike people out, which makes you nervous.
Yeah, it's not good. And you have Kerry Wood as the closer.
Kerry Wood is the closer.
I mean, that's not one you can really take to the bank either.
Their strength
in terms of him being there all year, you know?
Yeah, their strength is their setup guys, because Jensen Lewis, Rafael Bencourt, Rafael Perez, Masha Kobayashi, although he hasn't looked good this spring training, but they're strong in the bullpen. Like, they're going to win 5-4, 4-3 type games in the late innings, probably.
Yeah. They're not bad.
Offensively,
they do well in odd-numbered years, too, don't they? Isn't that their deal?
Oh, yeah, you're right. Offensively, Victor Martinez, everybody thinks he's going to have a huge year.
And there's not a lot of new guys he has to teach handshakes to, so he'll be rejuvenated.
That's true. Yeah, you and I love that more than anyone else ever, that he has a different handshake for all 25 Indians.
Right.
And then people like Johnny Peralta this year a little bit. People like Asdrubal Cabrera. Grady Sizemore every year is allegedly going to be his breakout year.
Right.
People love Shin-So Cho.
Their right fielder.
Big fantasy sleeper. Matt Berry's a big fan of his. And Kelly Shopak, the catcher, who had a quietly decent year. They also have a catching prospect that they got in the Casey Blake trade named Carlos.
Kelly Shopak was a Red Sox, wasn't he?
He was. We traded him in the ill-fated Coco Crisp.
Oh, that's right.
Andy Marte trade.
That's right.
They also have a catching prospect that everybody thinks will be up midway through the year, offensive catcher named Carlos Santana, who they got, ironically, in the Casey Blake trade. They got this guy who allegedly is going to be the best hitting catcher of this next decade other than Joe Mauer, and they got him for Casey Blake.
Isn't there some guy from Baltimore, this prospect who's like a big-time catcher?
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Yeah, I'm an idiot. Matt Wieters. He's, other than Wieters, the top.
This guy's number 2.
Yeah, the clear number 2 and a top prospect. So, I mean, that's a pretty nice team.
The Indians aren't bad, yeah.
What do you think? 95 wins?
Yeah, I think they could be in the hunt for the AL Central. They could be there.
Is that the best American League team?
The Indians?
Yeah.
American League or American League Central?
American League.
The Indians? No, they're not the best team in the American League.
You think Red Sox and Yanks are better?
Yes. Yeah, I think they're both better than the Indians. Carl Pavano is their number 3 starter.
Yeah, I think you're right.
The team with Carl Pavano in the mix is not the best team in the American League.
The 3-4-5 hurts them. But I don't know, they have a lot of guys.
Cliff Lee. I think Cliff Lee and Fausto Carmona, I think it's a crapshoot.
Yeah, you're probably right. Though what worries me about them is that they have a lot of guys who seem like they're poised for either career years or comeback years, which always makes me nervous.
That's true. That's a possibility.
The White Sox, basically the same team as always. They had Carlos Quentin's back healthy this year, so I guess that's the biggest difference from the playoff team they had.
And they've added Bartolo Colon.
Yeah, they added Bartolo, which I'm going to put in the negative column.
Yeah.
The 1, 2, 3 starters are Burley, Danks, and Floyd. Jenk's still the closer. Pretty much the same team as last year. The one X factor they have this year is they have this highly regarded middle infield guy named Gordon Beckham, who was their first-round draft pick last year. And everybody thought that he was actually going to make the team, but now it looks like they're going to bring him up mid-season. But
Jermaine Dye and Jim Thome not getting any younger.
No, they're not.
And Paul Konerko and A.J. Brzezinski, my God, this team is pretty old, no?
Jermaine Dye a contract year, though.
Oh, that helps.
Jim Thome, I agree. He's, he's 38. August 27, 1970. Also, how long can Ozzie Guillen...
I'm older than Jim Thome. My God, that makes me feel old.
Yeah, but you'll live longer.
Let's hope.
Alexi Ramirez is getting some MVP buzz, I guess is the other thing with them. I don't see it. I also feel like Ozzie Guillen wears out teams after a while.
I don't know. I kind of like Ozzie. He's completely insane. I enjoy that. It would be fun to be a White Sox fan, and you never know what he's going to do or say. That's intriguing. But, yeah, if you were playing for him, that's the other problem. The same thing. You don't know what he's going to do or say today. After
about 8 years, it's going to get old.
Yeah, that's probably true. But in that division, they could be in the mix there. They won it last year.
You could be in the mix. I just think the Indians are better.
Yeah, probably.
We can write off the Tigers, as far as I'm concerned, 11-4 odds, because they're just going to get slaughtered by the economy, and I just think it's just not a good situation. I also don't, Edwin Jackson's their number 2 starter, Fernando Rodney's their closer. They got some major pitching issues.
Why wouldn't they keep Gary Sheffield until he hit his 500th home run and try to milk that for some fans?
Because Jim
I know
Leland,
he's a clubhouse cancer, but
Jim Leland said he wasn't one of my best 25, and supposedly Jim Leland, if they start out slow, his job's in jeopardy. I do think I am totally on board with the Miguel Cabrera is going to win the Triple Crown. I don't think he'll win the Triple Crown, but I think he could put up those kind of stats. I think he's going to have a big year.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, he's got a year in the American League under his belt. Used to the parks and the pitching now. Maybe.
Strong second half last year, had like 26 homers. He turns 26 this season, which means he's probably 28 in real life. But he's right in that range where he's due to have a jump in his stats. And if he goes nuts, how about this though? Carlos Guillen playing left field. That's going to end badly.
That's an adventure. And they moved Inge to third now from catcher. Is that what they did?
Yeah, that's another disaster.
They're going to focus on a little defense here, allegedly, with Adam Everett.
I'm going to write them off, Johnny.
Yeah, Well, I mean, they have Verlander and Bonderman.
Bonderman's out start of the year.
Oh, he is?
Yeah.
Oh, I should have been on that. Sorry.
Don't apologize. You're at work. Minnesota Twins 11-4 odds. The Tigers were 11-4.
Yeah.
Minnesota Twins 5-2. So I guess you could say they had the second best odds. The White Sox were 5-1. Twins 5-2, and I guess mostly because of their pitching. They got Nathan as closer.
Yeah.
Liriano, Slowey, and Perkins, their top 3. They lost Scott Baker for indefinitely, which would be interesting. Bullpen's still good. I still wonder about their bats, though.
They have Joe Creedy.
They have Joe Creedy.
Morneau's solid.
Morneau is their only bat I'm afraid of, though.
And you have Joe Mauer, but it's never a good sign when a guy is on the DL to start the season or out because of like a kidney blockage.
Yeah.
Anytime like internal organs are involved, that makes me a little nervous from an athletic standpoint. It's not like it's like a knee or an ankle that you can put some tape on it,
And it's also a back issue too, right?
Yeah, I think it affected his back, and then they determined he had some kind of kidney blockage. That can't be good.
I don't get the 5-2 odds for them because who knows if Joe Mauer comes back, and if he doesn't come back, they really only have one hitter you'd be afraid of. I guess if Liriano goes nuts, I'm going to write them off too.
Delman Young, Michael Kadire, Nick Pinto,
and then the Kansas City Royals, who I bet at 15-1.
I know that people are on the Royals.
On the bandwagon, baby. They're down to 6-1.
Everyone's like, don't go to sleep on those Royals. You're on the Kansas City.
Well, they have
Coco Crisp now.
Coco, I think, is going to have a big year. I really like him.
Their closer is good, Soria.
Soria's good, and they also have Juan Cruz as a setup guy. I think is a roto sleeper.
And Kyle Farnsworth is involved in the mix.
Not as sold on Farnsworth, but
I went a couple rounds with Kyle, and I'm all set. Thanks. I'm good.
Had a couple hookups. And you call him again.
I'm good with Kyle. Thanks.
I really like their. Except for Sidney Ponson, I like the starting rotation. I like the Mesh, Greinke, Kyle Davies top three. Brian Bannister will come back eventually. He'll be the number 4.
Yeah.
They have a couple guys. Well, Michael Vilas did well last year, but basically it's going to come down to whether Alex Gordon and Billy Butler hit for them, because those are two guys that have been these top prospects. Everybody's been waiting for them to come through, and it hasn't happened yet. And if, for Alex Gordon, I think it's got to happen. It's got to start happening right now. Yeah, you're either the next George Brett or you're not. And if you're not doing it after 4 years, it's not going to happen. But yeah, it's an interesting team.
Yeah, they're interesting. I don't know.
If you go to my sports cluster theory, which I tried to sell Mike Lombardi on about how, the Chiefs.
Right, they have Matt Castle, and the city will rout like Boston. Right, I read your article about that.
Maybe the Royals, maybe they started off. The Chiefs step in. Maybe they get an NBA team. Like, there's some possibilities here.
Kansas City, you think that this is where it all starts?
I'm going to say Cleveland wins the division, but I think KC battles them. I think they're a feel-good story and potentially sneak into the wild card if a catastrophic slew of injuries to the Red Sox, Yankees.
Yeah, I was going to say. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, because the wild card's not coming out of the West, but the Central is the problem with the Central is all the teams could plausibly, you could make an argument that they could win it, with maybe the exception of Detroit. So they're going to, they're all sort of the same team in a way. They're going to kind of battle. Everybody's going to be like around 500.
Yeah, they're playing each other. Yeah,
play each other
68 games. Yeah.
There's no layup games there where you're going to, they play each other 18, 19 times, right? So they're not going to have there's no layups there.
Is it 19? I think it's 19.
The Red Sox and the Yankees play each other 19 times, so I'm assuming that's what it is for all these other divisions.
Yeah, you're right. So that would be 76 games against decent teams.
Right. So that's going to leave a mark. It's going to take a toll, I think.
All right, that wraps up part 1 of our mammoth 2-part American League preview here in the BS Report. Part 2 will be the American League East as well as a little reality TV talk. So tune in for that one. Until then.
So I get to sign off. Whoa!
Thank you for downloading the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Too much fun.
Check out more podcasts at the iTunes Music Store or at Pod Center at ESPNRadio.com.
Peace out.
And that concludes another episode of the BS Report. And here's 55 more words that Bill Simmons intended to mention, but unfortunately ran out of time. Now you can get any regular piled high Subway footlong for just $5. The keyword is any. The sweet onion chicken teriyaki, savory chicken and bacon ranch, the meaty taste bud pleasing Italian BMT. All the regular famous Subway footlongs, just $5. Subway, eat fresh. See store for details.